sent them. That's from a distance.
That's right.
We'll call this general committee meeting of the St. Bernard Parish School Board, Tuesday, February the 3rd, 2015. We'll have a prayer. Let's go, Chief.
Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you this evening in reverent remembrance of our former school board member, Herman Bonnet. We pray for his family, Father, asking that they find in you the strength to accept his loss, and we celebrate his giving spirit, his life of service, and his dedication to the children of St. Bernard Parish. Father, we also ask that you be with us this evening as we work together to move our school district forward. Also, as Mardi Gras approaches, we pray for our students and teachers who are taking to the streets as early as this weekend to be part of the parades. Above all, please keep them safe. These things we ask in your name.
Mr. Campbell, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Superintendent Bocce, would you call the roll?
Mrs. Acevedo? Here. Mr. Campbell?
Here.
Mr. Egan?
Yes.
Mr. England?
Here.
Ms. Lemoyne?
Here.
Ms. Dysart? Here. Dr. Kraft?
Here.
Dr. Lewis is not with us tonight. Mr. Long?
Here.
Mr. Nikosha?
Here.
Mr. Warner?
Here.
Okay.
Dr. Kraft?
Yes. Ms. Dyson. Yeah.
I know Ms. Voce mentioned Mr. Bonnet in our prayer, but I just wanted to have a moment of silence for Mr. Bonnet and his whole family. Many of us still on this board had the honor and privilege to serve with Mr. Bonnet for 24 years, and he was truly a good friend to the children, to all the students, the teachers, to all of us. And he was a hard-working board member, and he was very involved, a terrific kid, and many of the other programs that we have in the school district, and he will be sadly missed. We missed him when he didn't run last time, or time before last, rather. And, you know, when you think of Mr. Bonnet, you think of him kissing, you know, everyone coming around this table, you know, when they had accomplishments and successes, the students and the children, and he's just a lovable and just a lovable guy and just a wonderful board member. So if we would take a moment of silence for him to honor in his presence. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dysart.
Dr. Kraft, point of
Yes.
privilege, please.
Yes, Mr. Egan.
Yes, thank you, sir. I know at our last meeting we mentioned that the Shelmet Band was going to Disney World, all right? But I happened to be at the central office a couple of days later, and I was Jill Mitchell was in the office, and I said, Jill, did you bring Chalmers down to Disney World? She says, no, but we're going down a week after. I said, really? She said, yes, we're going to be going down for competition. So they're going to be down there on the let's see, she's told me from the February 25th to March 2nd. And also, I want to congratulate Jill, okay, because she was named state director of the year from Shelmet High School. So
That's great. Congratulations, Jill.
And actually,
So-
Dr. Kraft, at the All-American All-Star competition, the dance competition, where she was voted the state director of the year, Shelmet High School Charmers won their overall division. They placed, of course, first in high kick in their division and overall in state.
right.
And second and third in they won jazz and pom, and then placed second and third at the state in those particular competitions, and placed also in the prop novelty as well. So they had, and many of their dancers won individually. The officers won their division, and their
Fantastic.
dancers came in first and second.
Right.
So this was just seems like they scooped up on all the awards this particular year, and then Jill Mitchell was named the state director of the year.
Well, I know they're going to do great
Yes.
at Disney World, and we wish them well.
In the national competition.
That's why we call them the Charmers.
Congratulations again, Shelmet.
All right.
That's great. Thank you, Mr. England, for bringing that to our attention. Any other personal privileges requested at this time before we move the agenda? Hearing none.
Could I
yeah,
just mention
yeah,
an
certainly.
event this morning? And I was
Absolutely.
going to do it later on, but
No,
I'll
but-
do it on the front end this
All
time.
right.
This morning at Chalmette Elementary, we had the launch of a national program, which is a partnership with United Way Worldwide, partnering with Scholastic and the National Association of Elementary School Principals. And it's called Club Connect. It's a reading initiative for kindergarten through third grade students. And what they do is, one of the major things that they do is to provide a reading oasis for schools and online connections for each student within the school for additional online resources, and there's a parent involvement component as well. And there are sponsorships to put this program in each school. And David Finley from Associated Terminals has been fantastic. He stepped up and became, for the greater New Orleans region, one of the first local donors. And he is sponsoring at the present 2 schools that he chose, elementary schools here, and that was Chalmette Elementary and Smith Elementary. So he has donated $10,000 for each school to put the reading oasis in. The national CEO from United Way Worldwide was there. His name is Brian Gallagher. This morning was there. A gentleman named Bill O'Dowd, who, for our students out there, seems to be a complete package. Gentleman is 7 feet tall. He played college basketball. I'm not sure about the pros, but he also is a graduate of Harvard Law School and was a national merit finalist. So he's a very intelligent gentleman as well as a very athletic gentleman. And he's on the National Board of Directors, and this was his brainchild and initiative. So this morning there was a meeting in the city of United Way Worldwide. A lot of their fundraising people from throughout the country were there. So they kicked off that national initiative at our school at Chalmette Elementary this morning. And all of the local television stations were there, and some of the people from the United Way board from around the city, and I won't name individual names, but quite a prestigious group of people, a lot of our business partners as well. So it was a wonderful event. Liz Winslow as the principal and Deidre Bailey as the principal of Smith Elementary were in attendance, spoke very well about the school and their programs, and the students were exceptional. They participated in the event, did everyone proud. We got nothing but compliments about how well behaved they are and how polite they are and how kind they are and how bright they are. So it was a fantastic event, and if you catch any of the news broadcasts, all 3 television stations were there, and I think they have snippets on today at different times. So I just want to congratulate the students at Chalmette Elementary, the principal at Smith Elementary, who really represented our school system extremely well. And thank those of you who were able to attend this morning. I think your presence meant a great deal to our students, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you much, Ms. Voce. And it's really something when you have St. Bernard launch a program worldwide, and most specifically in the national aspects. And Mr. Finley is a great partner in helping move this forward, and he's so excited about being a part of. And he said, I can't wait till we get every elementary school in St. Bernard Parish as part of the club. So no oasis in every school. That
I
would
told
be
him
great.
2 down, 4 to go, and I
Yeah.
expected him to find
That's
the
right.
sponsors for the
That's right.
additional 4 schools, and he assured me he
And I
would.
think, am I correct?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, am I correct that the Times-Picayune is going to come up with
The Times-Picayune is a premier media partner. I'm not sure
Okay.
exactly what
Yeah.
they will be doing. They will be promoting the initiative. Ricky Matthews was there this morning, the publisher of the Times-Picayune, and he indicated that there will be a lot of coverage about it as well,
That's good.
and urging community members to step up to, I think,
up to the
participate in this initiative. And it's really great. Anytime we can get additional literacy resources into our schools, it's a win-win situation. And I think that the students, though, were happiest. And you know, I'm going to curl up with a good book. I want the book itself. But
With
our
the bean bag.
kids, from the technology point of view, would rather do it in many other ways. So while they're enjoying the books as well, I think one of the bigger things was their connection, the technology connection, where they will have the availability of tremendous amount of online resources and interactive literacy games as well. And there's a component for parent engagement, which I think will help tremendously as well. And the faculty, I just want to congratulate the faculty at the schools, because what they did, each of the students had to enroll. Well, instead of sending all of that home to make sure that each of the parents were doing it independently, the faculty took it upon themselves to make sure that every child got connected immediately. So the United Way was very impressed that we got over 700 students at Chalmette Elementary connected in a matter of a couple of days, because the teachers stepped up and made that happen. So I'd like to thank our teachers out there who really went above and beyond in making sure that our students had the availability of that immediately. So.
Yeah, and that's still more evidence that we're on the cutting edge and we're moving forward, and that's great. And it was good to see Mr. Warner, Ms. Dysart, Ms. Lamont, and Mr. England there. And if they were like me, you were really impressed with the media coverage and also the number of people there garnering their support for this program. So hopefully it'll have a snowball effect and move throughout of our nation and world. But it's great to be on the cutting edge and launch a program here in St. Bernard Parish. So that's a positive for us all.
I thought Mr. Matthews said that the Times-Picayune was going to give $100,000 in cash, and then do another $100,000 in kind by promoting it through the publication.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
that's
great.
what I understood also. So that's $200,000. So
Right. There were 98 schools within the southeast region that they're trying to cover. We have 6 here in St. Bernard. So, but there are 98 schools
Yeah.
within the
So
region
you'll
that
need
this
that much
United
money.
Way covers. Elementary, K through 3 programs.
because resources are expensive to cover this in each of the schools.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the Oasis room was really remarkable. Okay, anything else anyone has to say relative to this? Hearing none, we'll move to item 4 on committee assignments. You have a sheet in there of the appointments for this. I did not change anything except Ms. LeBoyne will be on the Finance Committee. Mr. Warner will be on the Federal Government Relations, and we appreciate Ms. Catherine Lemoyne stepping up to be a council member of the Head Start group. So that's about the only changes that we made as far as these committee assignments and external responsibilities. Okay. At this point, Mr. Campbell, I believe you have the even number months on the Building and Grounds Committee.
Good evening.
Mr. Carey.
How are you doing? Good evening. We're going to start with the MOMUS Center. Okay. Here we see the front of the school. It's in pretty good shape now, where those brick pylons, the sign is going that will say the MOMUS Center. But if you look at the top of the picture, there's an empty area where we had a sign originally, and it will say Araby High, because that's what the old photographs show. That was in that spot. And then above that, there will be an owl in a niche at the very top, because there was an owl there originally, according to the old photographs. They're doing sidewalks now, so the exterior is starting to look really good. Here is the new entrance into the building, between the old annex and the original building. And when you go in, there's the new lobby. There's a round desk, reception desk, and you can see the lighting and the balcony up above. This was all open before. Now this is all new space that was claimed in the new building. Here you can see we're in the lobby still, the new terrazzo staircase going up to the second level. They're putting in all the handrails. In fact, all the handrails are in as of today. This is an area going into the planetarium. This is the pre-function space where the children will go in first, and they'll tell them what they're going to see when they go into the planetarium. There'll be a big TV screen on that left wall that will explain the program. So we're in the planetarium now. The dome is finished. You can see all the seats in place. There's a little bit of wood trim that has to be put in, so all the carpet is in now. Here's more of the seats. The seats are very comfortable. You lean back in the seats. It's really nice. And they're putting in all the instrumentation now. They were working the dome yesterday when I was in there. All the colored lights were going on, and for the next few days we can't get into the planetarium while they put in the final equipment to make it work. This is the old lobby. It's all been restored. You can see on the left one of the old bronze light sconces, and all of them been restored. There's 16 of them like that now, and they were all lit up today. All that work is all beautifully done. All the guillotine makes it look like the original lobby looked. Here we're in the theater. Here's the proscenium. You can see the stage curtains are all there now. The big speakers for the sound. The ceiling is all restored. Not restored, recreated, because that's all new material up there. With the lighting, all the original lighting has been redone, so that's all good fixtures now. And they have up lighting, so you can see the detail on the ceiling when you're in there. Oops. Okay, that's the beginning of the construction of the stadium seating that's in the auditorium. The stadium seating can be stored and pushed back. It has beautiful seats. They're all the red plush seats with arms are on that now. And those are all recessed back into the wall when you want to use the space as a big open room, like for a science fair or a party or something. It can become a big open space again. The windows you see at the top of the control room, that's where the balcony used to be, and it's now the control room for the auditorium. This is the food science area where there'll be cooking demonstrations and use of food and where food comes from. And here's where it comes from. These are planter beds, all irrigated and everything, and there will be students will plant vegetables and whatever, herbs and all in these planter beds. Here's one of the new bathrooms. If you remember what the bathrooms were like in the old center, these are beautiful bathrooms, and we have 2 on the first level and 2 on the second level, so they're really nice now. This is the exhibit space on the second floor. You see the paper on the floor, that's because it's a wood floor that's all been refinished up there, the original. It's wood that was reclaimed from the rest of the building and made into flooring to go up there. And this is pretty much what it looks like. It's all refinished and it's beautiful. Here's the cafeteria. Ceilings in place. Since this picture was taken, the light fixtures have all been hung now also. The terrazzo floor is in place. And here you can see the sound panels on the wall, and that big white space is where the big TV is going. And you can see one of the light fixtures. Now we're on Chalmette High School. Any questions on MOMUS?
You have a date yet?
March. That's what they tell us now. It's March. And the way they're going, I can see it. Every day I go there now, and you can see the work. All the finishes are going in now. All the different furnishings and everything is going in. So, Chalmette High. So the front is pretty well finished. As you can see, the road work is going in right now. All the new sidewalks, curbing, and the paving will go in. That's all being worked on now. You see this is the new entranceway going into the office, the big Chalmette Owl, looking back to the doors that lead into the school. Of course, those doors will be controlled access doors. You won't be able, once school starts, they're locked, and you can't get in. You have to go into the office first to be directed into the school. Here is the new office, fully functional now. They're all in there working. Here's Mr. Warner's office. I couldn't photograph the conference room because they had a big conference going in there today, so, but right behind him is a big conference room too. So here is from the atrium looking down into the entranceway. And looking to the right of that, you can see the student gathering space and all. It's in part of the atrium. Right now it's being used to store things, but it will be the final. It'll be a nice big area for students. Oops, I missed one. This is the new shop. This will probably be the last space to be worked on because we're using the shop to stage all the rest of the building around it. But that exposed aluminum duct you see is the dust collection system, the sawdust collection system for the building, for the shop. And you can see that that hose is the electrical. They're all over the place to hang down to all the various shop units. So this is the last of the area to receive exterior walls. That's in the courtyard. And you can see there are only 2 bays now that don't have the new wall in yet. But that's being worked on now. This is one of the old science rooms that's being worked on. You can see the new window walls are in now in there. And right across the hall is one of the new science rooms. They go online this week. There are 2 new science classrooms on the courtyard side of the 2nd floor hallway. And then between those 2 is this new computer room that's in operation now. Looking down, you'll see the courtyard. So all the paving and site work is done, all the new drainage, and they're putting in light fixtures now. As you can see now, you can get to the courtyard from 4 different directions. Before, you could only get to it from that very end by the gym. Now you can get to it from near the front of the school as well. Here is the lobby that connects the studio on the right with the digital library on the left.
It's upstairs if you.
2nd floor,
yeah.
yeah.
Go into the old presentation area, you know, that big open map area. This is what it looks like now.
So this is the digital library. The computers have just been installed. There's 68 computers in there, and the desk will be pulled together now the installation is finished. But all those circles on the wall are sound-absorbing panels. And you can see the projector that hangs down. The screen comes down on the far wall when you want to show anything in there. Now we're in the studio, and you can see the green wall. That's the green screen wall, so they can do all the special effects that they like to do. The floor is in, the ceilings are in, they're hanging light fixtures now. And all these boxes you see are the equipment that's going in there. You're looking now out to the lobby through the glass window that's there. After Mardi Gras. Yeah, right. And now we're in the studio, we're looking through the control room, and then through the control room you can see Mr. Felton's class on the other side of it. So both areas use the control room. This was the little theater that's in there. Still a theater, but it's all been refurbished with new lighting and sound. And, you're looking out on the stage at the audience. You can see there are all LED fixtures in there too. This is the teacher's lounge on the first floor. They just finished putting in the kitchen cabinets now. There's a new bathroom for female teachers, and the area on the left is for vending machines. Well, there's plenty of computer outlets all around the room, so teachers can use this area very well. This is in going down the the business computer area in what used to be the community college. And here is one of the classrooms. This is Ms. Goday's classroom. But it's, you can see it's set up with all the computers again. Here's Mr. Rusk in his band room doing class. He's in now full time. And in the lobby on the Palmisano Street, you can't hear any sounds from the band room. So soundproofing worked. And this is the greenhouse. It was moved out of the central courtyard, and now it's in an area between the softball and the baseball field by the tennis courts, where you can get to it with trucks and everything to move things around. You can see it's pretty well along. They're just adding the panels to it now. Well, they're the tables for the beds and everything. And that's it. And this one is scheduled to be finished the end of April, but I suspect it'll be closer to May. When the students leave for the summer, the construction people are going to leave too. And Mr. Warner will have the summer to organize the school and get all the floors waxed and all again.
Everybody's going to be happy.
I hope.
We hope. Great job. This is so.
Any questions?
One question. Mr. Carey, the air conditioning for the new classrooms, does it have units of its own, or is it tied into the?
Well, there's a central plant that sends conditioned water around to all the different units, but every classroom has its own units in it with its own thermostat.
Okay. And I know the old
And they're
building
quiet,
had
too.
the chilled. Was it chilled water?
Yes,
Is that the same?
Same system, but now it's located on top of the new cafeteria building. That's why we
Okay.
built that building first, so we could build the central plant and start sending the water around.
Okay.
Now, the
And-
community college still has its chillers on its roof, too. I mean, that's part of that original building.
Okay. So the chilled water system seems to be working well.
Yes,
Great.
It took about a year before everything got straightened out with that. You know, last winter was not very comfortable, but this winter, everything seems to be okay.
Right. And I know we had a problem with the gym at one time.
Yeah, well, that's all
With the
working
air
now.
conditioning,
And
but that's all
and they're
better now.
very, very quiet in the gym. Remember how noisy the gym used to be?
Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Dyson.
Thank you. Mr. Carey, you said that the Moment Center is going to be completion date is going to be March?
March.
beginning
I
of
would think
March?
the end of March,
The
okay?
end of March.
Yeah.
So we will be able to utilize the planetarium by then? Ms. Voce?
Well,
We take a trip before then.
right now, the software for the planetarium that y'all had approved, if you remember the last couple of meetings, is being loaded on at the Spitz Center up in
Right.
what, Philadelphia? Wherever.
Philadelphia.
And they're going to load the first series of programs that we'll have onto the hard drive itself. And then we will be replenishing it after that point. So I'm hoping that it will be operational, by the end of March. But by the, as we get it all loaded on, and then we get the training done and everything in its place, then we can talk about doing an event to open the planetarium part of it, which I think will be very exciting. So we have some decisions to make on toward the end of the school year, or possibly in conjunction with the 10th anniversary, when we'll talk a little bit more about that as to what types of events we will do in a series of events possibly leading up to that anniversary.
So you're speaking about community events?
Yes.
But the students won't be able to be utilizing it or be
Well,
able to
we're
use
hoping,
it
if it's the end
until-
of March, April, we might be able to get them in toward the end of the year. If it's available, we will get them in.
Good.
You
That's what I was
definitely, we will get them in as soon as it's ready to show some of these magnificent programs. And I see, when Mr. Carey showed you that waiting area as you go up into the planetarium, that whole wall around there, I know there's that big television or whatever screen there, but the whole wall will have a
That's on the
lighting
second
system
floor.
on
The second floor lobby has
Uh-huh.
all of the different, not galaxies,
Constellations
but
and such.
constellations in LED lights on the wall, so
I
we'll be able
mean,
to talk about
it's
that as they
just-
come out of the planetarium.
And each time I go, you see a little bit more done, a little bit more done, and I know we're all anxious, and we're all anxious. I just want to make sure that it's definitely ready to go, and that everyone's trained on it well, and that we'll get the kids in as soon as we can, believe me.
That's what we're concerned with.
No, it is.
As soon as we get it ready, that they can start using it, and, because it is so exciting. It's going to be
Uh-huh.
wonderful. Thank you.
And we big kids will get to go in too.
Yeah, the school board will get a show in there early
We
on.
definitely will get to
Yeah,
do
that'd be
it and
great.
see it
That's-
too.
Whenever y'all want a tour, call me. We'll meet.
Anyone else?
Yeah, we appreciate Mr. Carey and his work there and helping us move forward in the buildings. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
thank you.
I hope we have better success. 10 years ago, I can remember attending the program, the new program, and shortly thereafter, it was gone. Yep.
I
Thank you.
can't remember that far back, Mr.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Campbell. Ms. Dysart, you are up next on the Education Committee.
Thank you, Dr. Kraft. Next item on the agenda is the update on the Second Step Bullying Program. Good evening, Mr. Kassar.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And as I was thinking about an appropriate start for this, I think maybe the way to start this is to say, what a privilege to stand in front of such a caring group of people. And in earnest, that's what this initiative and this effort is really all about, is to help teach young people to begin to care about themselves, to care about each other, and ultimately to begin to care about a community, their school community, their family community, and then ultimately the St. Bernardine extended area. As we all know, bullying and anger-related issues has become a very serious concern within not just our community, but across the nation. And Ms. Voce had asked Mr. Powell some years ago to look at a curriculum that would deal specifically with the violence and bullying issues. And he and a team of teachers and myself had the privilege to work on that. And Second Step, quote unquote, the name, is just that program. At this time, Second Step exists within our schools from kindergarten through middle school. And the initiative really travels in a variety of paths. At its core, the intent is to help students to do just that. Begin to appreciate themselves, learn how to interact with each other, appreciate those people around them, act appropriately. You know, it's strange to think that we have to reteach kids to do that, but today we really do need to do just that. And in the process, there are benchmarks of behavior that's expected of those kids as they travel from grade to grade. The curriculum is articulated so that it speaks to itself as it goes up, and it builds a foundation of understanding and commonality of terminology so that the words that are used for elementary children as they continue up the grades, that terminology is continued, which is important so that you're not using one program at an elementary level and then something altogether different at 5th grade and middle school. So there is articulation, and I'm privileged at this point to be able to tell you guys that we're working on not only continuing to implement that program, but to redefine the program and to use media as another tool to help glamorize, if you would, to empower kids to want to do the right thing, realizing that media is working against our children in this nation often, so we need to use the same tools to bring media in a powerful way to help kids realize that good is a good thing to do and right is the right thing to do on an ongoing basis. And it seems very cliche-like, but in fact it's that simple often in children's lives. So very easy. Ms. Voce and I talk about this sometimes. What really makes a difference? We know this. If we do nothing, we know we're not making a difference. These programs and these issues are very complex and difficult. Complex parent issues, complex home issues, complex community issues, and there is no silver bullet that one thing hits it all. But certainly, as we work together as a community, as we work together as a school, as teachers realize, yeah, they're dealing with complex situations, but we have to continue at it. And I think, you know, you hear success stories all along the way of young people that we're making a difference with. To that point, tomorrow, if you guys would be available, we're going to have the privilege of an amazing group of people that have come to the community. They were here for other reasons in New Orleans and through a contact that is working with us at Tristan Chalmette. We're going to have a group of young people from across the nation. They're called Epic Assemblies. And these young people are going to present at Chalmette's 9th grade, to Chalmette's 9th graders, to St. Bernard Middle, and to Trist students tomorrow. And this is one of those high-impact, very visual, dance, media, sound effects, lighting with kids that present the most impactful of messages concerning decision-making, the results of those decisions, and if you find yourself there, is there hope? Their message is very hope-centered. So, tomorrow at 8 a.m., if any of you are available to come to the theater, you will see the program in its fullest form. They're going to start setting up in just, as soon as I leave here, that team will be meeting me, and we're going to set up tonight until all that equipment's in place. That's at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, 8 to 9, and then the full effect again at Andrew Jackson at 2 p.m. tomorrow. At St. Bernard Middle, they have a whole different approach. Because of the acoustics in the cafeteria, they do what's called a face-to-face, where these young people actually walk in the aisles and talk to kids about their lives and the journey and the mistakes and what it's cost them and what it's taken to bring them back to life and a life full of direction. So that's what's going on actually tomorrow. So that's kind of a quick summary, you guys, of Second Step and some of the what are we doing for those middle school and high school kids beyond.
Thank you, Mr. Casar. Are there any questions? Mr. Warner?
Yeah, this, the group that's performing tomorrow,
Yes, sir.
unfortunately, I'm not gonna be able to be there. I'll be at Sherwood High's cafeteria serving breakfast at that time.
Okay.
But,
The good
Is there
thing
any
is,
way-
it's being videotaped.
that's what I wanted to ask.
Yes,
Will you
Jack and
videotape
Da-
it
and
Be
Barry-
able to show it to
Yes, sir.
students? and-
Yes, sir. And truthfully, I don't know how much it's going to transfer because of the impactfulness and the largeness of what's going to happen, but at least we'll have a record and can look at it. To that, you guys, we're working with Metropolitan Human Services. And there's a wonderful group of leadership that's come together in that group of people. And they're looking to us, our facilities, our kids, the longevity of the things that we've done in this community. And some of their folks are coming tomorrow to look at these people to see whether or not there could be the possibility of an entire regional event to occur here next year, where we bring leadership students from every high school in the city to come begin to think about and look at these issues. Because these issues exist among the rich, the poor, the educated, the uneducated. Every walk of life is affected by violence, hopelessness, despair, drug abuse, domestic violence, and on and on. And so if we can begin to see ourselves as part of a regional effort and young people to see this not as a hopeless effort, oh, this is just the way it is, instead to begin to see it as what can we do to bridge the hopelessness to hope, despair to future, and to success. And so we have double purposes in this event tomorrow. Hopefully this group of people will do some amazing things that we can transfer to a larger venue next year.
And talking a little bit about Metropolitan, they, funneling through Department of Health and Hospitals, they are grant recipients for many of these initiatives. So we met with the new executive director for Metropolitan the other day. They are funding the materials right now for a good part of our Second Step program, which has been extremely helpful because whenever we can pull in additional resources and that frees up our own to do some other things. And in discussions with the executive director, there are monies coming down for further initiatives in terms of prevention activities, in terms of some treatment activities as well for students and community members who are suffering substance abuse problems. So we're looking at it from both the preventative end and also the treatment end. And whenever dollars are available, you know how we are, we're right in there looking for them so that we can expand our programs. So I think this partnership with Metropolitan, which we had enjoyed years ago in some other activities, which when the storm hit, things got all messed up. And as you know, we're in partnership with LSU through the Osofskis, as well as many of the other area services. But I think Metropolitan is going to be moving into this area and working with us a great deal in providing additional resources and programs that we help develop, because we're all very protective of what we put into our schools. So we make sure that we help craft the program and that we have the final say, of course, as to what actually goes into the schools itself. So we're excited about that initiative. And I had some initial meetings with them in the last couple of weeks. So the funding for the Second Step program has come out of that partnership, and hopefully some additional activities and programs as we begin to implement.
And just as maybe two final notes to that, Ms. Polly Campbell's been very, very helpful. As you all might know, Polly is
on their board.
the chairman of the
their
board for Metropolitan and has really kept her eye very much on our community in both finances and in services, and being recognized as outstanding people doing outstanding things for kids. And I think Metropolitan's looking to us as maybe being that role that they jump in and help build some some interesting things. The other thing is they're very interested in media. They understand that there is great power in what's on that screen and are very interested. So hopefully, through Ms. Voce and Penn TV, we can really develop some powerful tools to our schools and to our community through that.
Mr. Warner?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, if you could follow up with us too in the future on these programs and implementing them, because this is it's a very serious issue.
It is, Mr. Warner.
Bullying in schools shouldn't occur. Everybody should be able to go to our schools and be able to go there in peace and not have to be worried about being bullied or anything like that. So it's just a real important issue for our students, and everybody should have a chance to go to school on equal terms. So thank you, Mr. Kassar,
Thank
for all
you,
the work
Mr.
you
Warner.
do.
Thank you, sir.
You don't mind following up with us.
Be honored to, because there's hopefully much more to come in this journey.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Dr. Kraft?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Tyson. Yeah, Mr. Kassar, you mentioned a lot of positive things there, in collaboration with other groups can make it a bit more meaningful for our bullying program here in St. Bernard Parish. And of course, in some school districts, bullying has reached epidemic proportions. So they've had to take drastic measures to try to eliminate that. And of course, we're on the cutting edge because a few years ago we began a bullying program, and we want to enhance this and make it better, that it reaches down with the students and the parents, that everyone understands that it's not a good characteristic to be a bully, and if they can understand that, they will not be going around bullying people, because it's not a nice thing to do, and again, it can have serious consequences. Many students, as you have read or heard about, they were bullied so much at school that they committed suicide. So this is a serious matter, and of course, everyone has a part to play in trying to keep bullying to as lower level as humanly possible. So that means you have to be very observant in school and out of school when you see it, and you need to be proactive before, and rather than reactive in a sense. So we appreciate what you're doing in helping make this happen, and appreciate you very much.
Dr. Kraft, thanks. And let me just reiterate what Ms. Voce said. Please understand, you guys, there is a tremendous need for a great deal of partners in this journey. The LSU partnership, those psychologists in our schools handling the most critical of children, coming through critical situations, is a vital piece of this. The stories we could tell you of kids cutting themselves and hurting one another, there's a lot of issues out there. This is really wide and very deep. Again, piece by piece, people working together, making a difference for kids is the only way we're going to come through this successfully.
Mr. DeKosha?
Mr. Kassar, could you go over the times that the presentations will take place?
Yes, I'd be happy to. At Chalmette, for the ninth graders at the Cultural Arts Building, that will be 8 o'clock, 8 to 9. Okay. Then at St. Bernard Middle, 10:50 to 11:50. Andrew Jackson, that will be at 2 o'clock, 2 to 3. Then on Friday, Raleigh, and I think that time's going to be 10:30. We're trying to arrange it exactly with lunch so that when the program is finished, these young people will sit down and eat lunch with the kids at Raleigh to be able to talk and listen and interact. Okay, thank you. Would love to see you guys.
Mr. Kassar, you mentioned that the group actually doing this performance tomorrow is a young group. So it's teenagers, young adults?
Young adults. Most of them are college age, and amazingly bright kids. These are not thugs. These are amazing kids that have been through just horrendous things.
Okay.
Some self-inflicted, some family issues, just It's the gamut. This is kind of the real deal.
And basically, during the performance, they'll be sharing their actual stories?
Yes, ma'am.
Of
Yes, ma'am. A lot of big screens, visuals, you know, creative movement, lighting effects, and then kids talking, kid to kid, you know. Or in this case, like at Chalmette, a person to 450 people in an audience.
Okay. And the name of the group again?
Epic presentations.
Epic, EPIC?
Yes, ma'am. Epic
Okay.
presentations.
But they're not actually a part of the Metropolitan Union?
No, ma'am. This is a national
Okay.
group. I think their headquarters is in California.
Okay.
And they do both church work and secular work. So this group, there's a lot of commitment on the part of these young people.
Well, thank you, Mr. Casar,
Thank
for
you,
your
guys.
presentation.
Thank you
and
very much.
for-
Thank you all for being so interested. Thank you all so very much. We appreciate it.
Okay, thank you again. Anyone else before Mr. Casar? Please, the podium. Okay, thank
Thanks.
you again.
Okay, guys.
Okay, next item on the agenda is an update on special education changes, and we have Ms. Kirk with us tonight. Good evening.
Good evening. First, I'd like to thank the board for this opportunity to provide some recent special education changes for the 2014-15 school year.
You need the screen. And I put it up, right?
Okay. I provided a brief packet of information highlighting 2 topics, and in this packet, we have a PowerPoint and some key information and 2 additional handouts behind the purple dividing page. Give you a second to get to that. Thank you, Ms. Foche. The first topic is Act 833, and this was passed through the 2014 legislative session. And Act 833 provides alternative pathways for certain students with disabilities to demonstrate the level of proficient, which may result in promotion and/or graduation with a high school diploma. The IEP team, or the Individualized Educational Program teams, are responsible for determining these alternative methods of demonstrating proficiency. And some may ask, like, what would that look like? And you know, the guidance from the state has been vague, but what we've gathered and some of the meetings we've sat in, we may be looking at maybe students providing some portfolios, maybe looking at their benchmark assessments, special projects, some written and oral reports, participation with classwork and homework, formal and informal assessments, participation and observations. Those are just a few ways to demonstrate proficiency as well. Moving on to the next slide, Act 833, there's a criteria that we follow, and that's the guidance from the Act and the state. The IEP team should...
Excuse me, Ms. Kirk,
Yes,
are
ma'am.
you advancing the slides or is someone else?
Oh, I'm
doing
not. I thought they were, so sorry.
it? Oh, okay.
Thank you, Jack.
There you go. All right.
The IEP team should review the records of Act 833 eligible students to determine if and when it is appropriate to apply these individual performance criteria. And just below is a chart from the State Department that I've included in your packet. And the first bucket, in a sense, is 3 areas that you can become eligible. The first one is when you enter high school, and that's sort of our 8th going into 9th graders. And these students do not meet the required benchmark scores on 2 of the 3 most recent state assessments. So it's 6th, 7th, or 8th. So it could be 6th and 8th, 7th and 8th, etc. The next bucket would be the students who are already in high school, like the 9th and some of our 10th graders. These students do not receive the score of fair, good, or excellent after 2 attempts of the same EOC. And the third bucket of students, these are the students that become eligible in high school, and these apply to students who entered high school in the cohort during or prior to the 2012-13 school year. These students did not achieve benchmark scores on a combination of 1 EOC and either another EOC, a high school Lot 2 assessment, or an EOC retest. And I just want to note here that the barriers for most of these students have been, the ultimate barrier has been not being able to pass the statewide assessments. And Act 833 allows for an alternate way to demonstrate proficiency. The next slide. I've included just a snapshot of some of the guidance that we've had, that we've provided through the district as well as the state. And I want to note that Ms. Voce and I have attended numerous meetings regarding these 2 topics, but specifically Act 833 And we've looked at this with the implementation in our district, as well as she, as the superintendent, the president of the association right now, is assisting other districts as well. In August 2014, at our special education kickoff, I invited Ms. Voce to be our guest speaker to talk about this topic specifically with our teachers. And so we provided the first look at Act 833 through our professional development and initial meetings with administrators and guidance counselors. Ms. Voce also conducted a meeting with the guidance counselors to talk about how this would affect the high school promotion and graduation requirements. In September 2014 through January 2015, we have provided ongoing guidance, updates to administrators, school staff through meetings, memos, webinars, PowerPoints, professional development, etc. And I say that's every month, a couple of meetings a month that either she or I attended. She obviously maybe attended more than I did because she's been on some of these committees. And then finally, the department has conducted 4 webinars to assist districts with specific guidelines regarding the implementation of Act 833. So those are valuable tools that we're using to do the implementation, which is our next slide. And prior to the start of this school year, the special education staff identified potential students who may qualify under Act 833. So we knew this was coming in July, and we sat down as a team and took a look at every individual kid or every individual student to see if they were potential students. Once we identified these students, we strategically scheduled them in a course of study to maximize their abilities to provide a rigorous, intensive instructional program, including additional scientifically based interventions to improve learning and promote college or workforce readiness. These teams were sort of charged in a sense of doing 4 things. They identified their strengths and weaknesses, they reviewed their schedules and the course of study, they determined the appropriate performance criteria that they will be demonstrating, and they develop goals and objectives. And then they are monitoring and assessing them all along the way. Our additional next steps, which we're going to look at shortly because we're waiting some additional guidance from the state, which is going to be an informational 2 to 3 page document that we're going to be able to provide to parents as well. But our next steps for me would be to possibly hold a parent forum to provide some updates and expand the awareness of Act 833 to our parents and the community as well. Does anyone have any questions regarding this so far? And you may at the end. And Ms. Voce will chime in too the whole time because she has walked the walk with me, and she has really walked the walk alone and sometimes, you know, but she has been very instrumental in Act 833. Do you have anything to add at this time, Ms. Voce?
Once you conclude,
Sure.
I'll be happy to.
Okay, we'll move right along to our next topic, which is the LEAP Alternate Assessment Level 1, or sometimes referred to as LA 1. And a little bit of background behind this. LA 2, which you may have heard, which is the LEAP Alternate Assessment Level 2, assessment will only be administered to a very few amount of students. This assessment is being phased out, and right now we're only giving it to 10th through 12th graders that qualified prior to the beginning of the school year. And with that, we had to take a look at what would be an appropriate assessment for students with disabilities, and so through that process, we've looked at widening or expanding the criteria for LA 1. So that's why I'm bringing this to you today. Partly because of the absence of LA 2, LA 1 eligibility has been revised per the BESI policy in December of 2014, December 14th to be exact. And so I've attached that revision for you to take a look at a later time if you'd like. LA 1 was developed for students whom there is evidence of a disability or multiple disabilities that significantly impact cognitive function and or adaptive behavior. Just wanted to go over the new criteria with you, and this is the main change, the next slide. So to be eligible to participate in LA 1, the student must meet all 4 criterion. Criterion 1 is the main change. 2, 3, and 4, which is on the next slide, is not changed from the previous criteria performance. Criteria 1, evidence of a significant cognitive disability or multiple disabilities in one of the following categories. The first one is 3 or more standard deviations below the mean. That's what LA 1 was and still remains. B is, this is the new criteria, the 2 new sections that we're taking a look at, and it's between If they're functioning between 2.3 and 2.9 standard deviations below the mean and has completed the 5th grade, you would then become eligible. Yes, sir.
Stop you right there.
Sure.
Maybe Ms. Voce, can you jump into, is there a funding difference between Law 1 and Law 2?
A funding difference from
Like
the state? No.
from Bessie?
No.
Do we have nothing like that?
No, sir.
Okay,
It's merely an assessment.
okay.
No problem. Letter C, rather, between 2.0 and 2.9 standard deviations below the mean and has completed the 5th grade. And with this specific criteria, you have to provide, or we will have to provide, additional evidence as required, and you see that attached as well. So that's kind of the caveat, that if you are functioning in that section, you're going to have to provide some additional information. Okay, and Ms. Fletcher may go over that a little bit longer. And I just wanted to add here that as trailblazers, as we always are in St. Bernard, Ms. Fauché and I and the team, the special education staff and team, got together and talked about having what we call up-to-date information and making sure that all our evals are current. And so with that being said, we did about 130 evals to make sure that we had current information so that all of our students were taking an appropriate assessment. So it's a big undertaking, but well worth it for our students. And like I said, the next section or the next page, you can look at the criteria later, but this hasn't changed. The evidence of curricular alignment, everything is aligned to extended standards, as well as the evidence of instructional needs. We take a look at, what the kids' needs are, how do we meet those needs, and finally the safeguards to make sure that we're just not placing a kid in a student in an assessment for one purpose or another. They have to be there for because that's the appropriate assessment. So the course of study. Students who meet the Law 1 participation criteria require extensive modification to their curriculum and to the assessment is aligned with the Louisiana Extended Standards. Students are not required to meet Carnegie graduation requirements and may take courses focused on applied learning and career preparation. Course decisions for Law 1 eligible students should be driven by the least restrictive environment determined by the IEP team. IEP teams will develop the best program of study to provide positive outcomes for each individual. And it's real important to note here that services do not change. These students will take an appropriate assessment if placed with Law 1. So services don't change. We still put them in the least restrictive environment, which could possibly be a general education classroom. In some situations, if they can earn a Carnegie unit, they will. Okay? The implementation. Students who meet the participation criteria must take the Law 1 assessment in the following grades. For grades 3 through 8 and 10, they will take the English language arts and math portion. For grades 4, 8, and 11, they will take science. The end of the course assessments are not required unless the student is seeking Carnegie credit in that EOC course. And the American College Testing, the ACT, students taking Law 1 are not required to take the ACT series of assessments. And lastly, very important, is accountability. Statewide assessment scores, proficient scores on the Law 1 are factored in the school and district performance scores and at the same weight as proficient scores. However, there is a 1% cap on the number of scores that may be counted. ACT scores. Law 1 eligible students are not expected to participate in the ACT and are not factored into this component for high school accountability. Graduation rate and graduation index. Diplomas earned by students taking a Law 1 assessment are not defined as standard high school diplomas because students are not assessed on the regular academic standards. Additionally, it is not currently an approved graduation option in the graduation index. The Department of Ed is working with stakeholders on a proposal to submit to the U.S. Department of Ed to recognize successful high school completion by Law 1 eligible students within the graduation index. I just wanted to publicly thank, before taking questions, or Ms. Voce adds to it, Ms. Voce for her assistance and her advocacy for students with disabilities, and specifically in these two areas that we're faced with what changes the school year.
Okay. Before we do any questions, let me just try to. Ms. Kurth went through a lot of very technical language changes, and in some cases, sometimes, if you're not used to all of the educational jargon or what was there and what is now, some of it made sense, some of it didn't make sense. And how we got to this point, we have always, just like most teachers and school systems around the state, with our special education students, we have provided programs that met their needs. And some of those students, most of our special education students, access the regular curriculum. Most of the time, you didn't even know they were special ed kids. They may have had some type of a disability that did not overtly manifest itself. They went through very easily with the accommodations that we provided. They earned a regular high school diploma, and that was fine. Then we had another group of students in the middle that struggled a lot. And we were always able to give them alternate types of assessments if they didn't do well on paper and pencil tests, because some of them knew the material, could demonstrate proficiency, but could not take a paper and pencil test because it was related to a disability that they had. Then we've always had a group of children with significant disabilities that were not accessing the regular standards, and we provided an alternate program for them. Then along came national accountability and NCLB and all of these assessment programs that came in. And with that, they did a tremendous disservice to our children, to their parents, to our teachers, our special educators who worked with these children, to the school system, and to the community, because they devalued the accomplishments of these kids and all of the people who worked with them. And they began by saying that all of these students were zeros in the accountability system, because if they had a significant disability and they couldn't earn the regular diploma, zero. You put the test in front of them, they couldn't pass it, zero. So we have fought very hard for many years to get us to the point, not only in this state, but to affect some national policy which would celebrate the accomplishments of these kids and their families and the teachers and everyone who worked with them. Now, having said that, you take baby steps as you go through this. There was this Act 833 that was passed, and it was basically, you had a group of people working who were advocates for children, and in the beginning didn't work a lot or very closely with the Department of Ed. Everyone's going in different directions. And their goal seemed to be that these children should receive a diploma. That was the primary goal when they began this particular endeavor. And then the state and feds came in and said, well, you can give them a diploma, it just won't count in accountability. So we have to work through all of those particular issues. But what it has amounted to, the feds have said, Law 1 and Law 2, when we throw those terms around, all those terms mean is a way to assess children. It doesn't tell us what kind of a disability a child has or what kind of program. It is an assessment. So Law 1 is an assessment that we are giving to children with a significant disability. So it became, well, how do you determine if a child has a significant disability? Louisiana had the most restrictive definition in the nation. They said that to be classified as a child with a significant disability, that child had to score more than 3 standard deviations below the mean, cognitively or adaptively. Now, what that means is, for most people in general, we've always been told, what's an average IQ? Average IQ, they say, is 100, on the scale. Well, 1 standard deviation is 15 points. So if you're 1 standard deviation below the mean, that means in general, you'd have an IQ of an 85. If you're 2 standard deviations below the mean, in general, your IQ would be in the 70 range. If you're 3 standard deviations below the mean, it's 55 or below. So what the state was saying, that if a child cognitively had an IQ of 55 or below, those are the only students that qualified for this alternate assessment. So you had to be moderately or severely cognitively disabled. And there are many children, and everybody else would have to take the standard curriculum and pass the regular tests. Now, think about that. Think about how absurd that is, how absurd a statement that is, that you're going to take a child with a 60 IQ or 55 IQ and put a regular test in front of them and say, we expect you to take that test with all the regular students. So one of the first things was, for assessment purposes, we wanted to expand the criteria for Law 1 assessment. That's not going to change a program for a child. We're still going to provide the programs the child needs, provide all the services, but it'll get them in a proper assessment for them and assess what they're truly learning as opposed to what the rest of the population may be learning within the school. So it will hopefully allow them, it won't make them so tense and upset when they are approaching these assessments. So as a compromise, we said, well, through the 5th grade, because children develop in many different times and blossom in many different ways at different ages. So through the 5th grade, that 3 standard deviation is staying in effect. But beginning in the 6th grade and above, we're lowering that to 2.3 or 2 with other data, which means about an IQ of a 70 and above, which is in the lower range. And with those children, if they're below that, they will be able to be assessed with that Law 1 assessment. Okay, if you're above that, meaning on the lower end of normal, of a average, not normal, of an average IQ, on the lower end of the average, we said, well, you know, some of these kids, they can master the concepts. They can minimally master the concepts and get a regular diploma. Their stumbling block is they may not be able to pass that paper and pencil test and reach that proficiency level. So we said there should be a way that we can allow them an opportunity to demonstrate their proficiency in a different way. It may be orally, it may be through a portfolio, it may be through their day-to-day grading with their teachers, a whole different range, a wider range. And that's what Ms. Carth were calling those Act 833 kids. The Act 833 allows a child in a regular path who has been identified with a disability to graduate from high school with a regular diploma by demonstrating proficiency in the end-of-course test in a way other than just through the paper and pencil administration of that assessment. And that is major for these students and their families and the teachers who work with them, who work very hard to make the accommodations and to provide the supports necessary to help make them successful. So then we get into all this accountability, which for the child, that child and the family shouldn't have to worry about that. As a school system, you know, we always worry about that too. Because how do you become an A school or an A school system? I mean, we should be able to accurately assess these kids and have them count in accountability. Unfortunately, when these kids who fall under Act 833 will still have to take the end-of-course assessment, and they may not score well, so the school is going to take a 0 for it, but the child will be able to earn the credit by demonstrating his mastery and will be able to get a diploma. So then they'll count positively in what we call the graduation index and the graduation cohort rate. So they may not do as well in the EOC assessment, and those kids do have to take the ACT, those Act 833 kids. So while the school will still have issues with accountability, these children will still be able to access a diploma We're all going to feel good about it. It's the right thing to do. It's the just thing to do. It's something that should have been done a long time ago. And then we've just been able to get that passed. The La 1 kids, the kids with the significant disabilities, they're the ones that will not have to take those end-of-course assessments at all because they're going to be in a different plan. They'll take an alternate assessment. They're the ones who will not be subjected to the ACT test. So those kids won't have to have that put in front of them when they really can't do it. And not count against the school. Now, the cohort graduation rate is a national indicator, and all that says, do you have a regular diploma or do you not? It's yes or no. Well, these kids will not have a regular diploma, so they're still going to count against us in the cohort rate. The grad index, which is the fourth component for the high school, we are right now, a small group of us are putting a proposal together to send up to U.S. Department of Education to try to get the approval for a successful culmination of their program, counting positively in the grad index, so that we can all celebrate their accomplishments. And they will be positive for the school as well as for the student and his family and this community, because that is the right thing to do. So we're trying to find a pathway for them in conjunction with this new Jump Start proposal, which is an employer-based accountability measure. So we're getting them ready in their pathway. And we've been doing this for years through vocational training programs. When Ms. Kurth was a teacher, that's what she did with the kids when she was at the high school level.
Right, and we're still doing that now.
And we're still doing
we
it.
have always done that.
But we're trying to get that recognized by
Right,
the federal
Jump Start.
government as a positive outcome so that these children will be counted positively in the graduation index. So there's some give and take with this. But what we want to make sure to say to parents is, remember, this is just a way of assessing kids that we have to do to satisfy state and federal regulations. Their programs are not going to change. They're just going to get better. We're still going to provide all the services that these children deserve and that we should be doing, and we're going to do the right things with them. What we're fighting for is the way to assess them appropriately and to let them, when they walk across the stage, get a diploma because they have successful completion of their program. Because who in the world said, what is a diploma supposed to mean? It is supposed to mean successful completion of their high school program. Well, if their program is different, they should still be able to receive a diploma and not something that's just called a certificate of attendance, a certificate of achievement. Well, no. They successfully completed their program. Now, if they don't, then they don't get a diploma, just like the regular, the general education students. But they deserve the opportunity to be able to access their program, to perform within their program, to be successful with their program, and to exit with that diploma just like every other child. So these changes are moving in the right direction. Now, what is happening with Ms. Kurth and her staff and all the special education teachers and the parents in the parish and even the general education teachers, we're going through this tremendous learning curve, and they've been working, just working hours and hours and hours on getting this right. And we have to work with parents in educating them. We have to reconvene all these IEP committees. We have to do all these reevaluations. We've got to get the word out. The IEP teams have to begin to look at these alternate proficiency levels. The special education teachers have to work with the general education teachers. And we have to understand that every child is different, and we have to make some accommodations for some children in mastering these concepts. And they've been doing a tremendous job. Ms. Kurth and her group have been doing a tremendous job. And we're pushing at the state level. I think I was John White's biggest irritant with this, and that's why I'm in on all these meetings. And then she's rolling her eyes when she knows.
No, they talk very highly of Ms. Voce at the State Department. In fact, we've had a meeting with them last week, and
they came
when she stepped out, they said, you're very fortunate to work with Ms. Voce. And I said, I agree with you. And it has been a journey, like she's saying, and to walk it together with my superintendent has been a positive thing for the students of St. Bernard Parish.
So to the parents out there, we're working on behalf of your children. Know that the services are not changing.
No.
They're getting the supports they need, the programs they need. What we're trying to do is get them assessed appropriately and their culminating document be an appropriate document for them so that they do feel success and they can hang that on their walls just like every other child can.
Well, if you guys have any additional questions later after you digest what just happened, certainly you can either contact Ms. Voce or I would be more than happy to answer any of your questions. So
Thank
I'd like
you,
to
Ms.
thank
Kerr.
you guys so much for the opportunity to be here tonight.
Does anyone have questions at this time? Mr. Long?
Well, I guess a comment. Whatever you guys have been doing, apparently it's working because even though our special education results are factored in a lot of cases to our overall academic grades, it seems like we're doing great, and we're in the top in many areas in the state. So, congratulations, and just keep up the good work.
And I think in conjunction with that statement too, we're talking about the special education staff. We really have to applaud our general education teachers, our regular ed teachers, because for some of them, this is a whole, it's a new ball game. It's a new concept. So when we work with children individually, and these children are in the regular classes, hopefully with the support that they need, that the regular education teachers are looking at them as individuals and how can they demonstrate proficiency of concepts maybe in a little bit alternate way. So I think we've got to be caring and we have to understand, and our people do.
Yeah.
We're very
We work
blessed
very
with that.
closely together. I mean, it's not special education and general education anymore. It's every education. So it's every ed. So, but thank you for that comment.
We don't call them secret ed anymore.
We don't call them.
We used to call them
Mr.
special
Otter,
education. His daughter used to call them secret ed.
No longer. It's no more secrets. It's not how you get things done, right?
Okay, Mr. England?
Thank you for coming here tonight.
You're welcome.
Okay. My question is, what about the funding, the state? Are they increasing our funding, for special education?
Unfortunately, this doesn't come with additional funding. It's an
Just
unfunded
additional
mandate.
work.
It's another mandate.
It's just another, right.
Yeah.
But I mean, the outcomes for the kids is what we're all about. So, if it takes extra time and extra legwork and, whatever it takes is what we do
Right.
to provide the best services for our students with disabilities.
Right. Okay. And what other
And
thing?
with the funding,
Yes.
Mr. England, in the MFP formula, there's a little weighted value for special education students. So we do get a little bit extra for a special education student than a regular ed, but not that much more. And one thing, and I always like to take this form, you always hear, well, what does it cost to educate a child in the public school system? And it might be $9,000 a student or $10,000
Right.
a student, and they'll say, oh, the private school can do it for $5,000.
Yeah, but
What nobody says, and this should be the rebuttal to people who say that, because it really angers me, okay? Not only forget, before we even get to the educational component, we are transporting children, we are appraising children with all of our pupil appraisal teams, we're providing resources and services, but we may have one special education child that costs us, and I'm not exaggerating, $150,000 for that one child.
that's right.
When you factor in a portion of his teacher, the aid that's in that, the occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy services, the evaluation and pupil appraisal services, and if that child is significantly disabled and we are performing medical procedures on him or her each day, we may have one child cost us $150,000. We may have another child cost us, just for a single child, $75,000, $80,000. So when you spread those costs across your district, they just take total expenditures, divide by the number of students, and say that's how much per student it's costing you. But you go to the local or a private school where there are 25 or 30 kids in a class, and they have none of these services.
Correct.
If we didn't have all of these additional services to provide, our costs would be in line with what theirs are.
Right, that's correct.
So it is really upsetting to me when I see that in the newspaper. And I'm just going to say this, you'll see, oh, vouchers will cost this much. They really save the state money. Well, what you're doing, you're taking the least expensive children to educate
Right,
and moving them over, so
there.
the children who are left will be more expensive per pupil
Mhm.
to educate, because you're spreading the higher cost
To the
among
public
fewer
schools.
students. So that is a bogus argument. It has no validity, no basis in fact, because you're not comparing apples to apples.
Right.
You know, you got apples and oranges there that you're doing a comparison with. But most people in the general public will just say, oh, yeah, you know, that's true. I wonder why that happens. But they have to sit down, if you explain it to them, and understand that. If I take all the cost centers in our budget and I take out the pieces that the private schools do not have to fund, we're right in line with the same per pupil costs when I take out all the extra services we need to provide. But that's my little editorial comment on the cost issue, Mr. Ingram.
Right, that's the reason why I brought it up, Ms. Voce.
We would love more federal funding. You have a friend up
She
there?
answered my questions. But
Shall we?
another thing I want to bring up also for everybody to mark on the calendar is March the 6th.
I wrote it down right
Yeah,
here.
I
It was
already
my
got it
last
written down.
closing
Right,
comment.
that
Was not on the
Special
agenda,
Olympics.
but March 6th is Special Olympics. And we will be getting that official, invite to you as well. But we always have a great event and held at Sherman High again. And so you'll get that invitation probably at your next board meeting. But yes, March 6th. I did have it right here.
Thank you, Ms. Curry.
Right. Well, I hope you guys have a great evening, and thanks again for the opportunity to speak to you.
Wait, we had some more questions?
Oh, sure.
I had a question, okay? Anybody else before? Okay. I had a question on you said, Ms. Kurth, if you could, in the accountability, that the 1% cap on the number of scores that can be counted?
Yes.
So they cap in?
They do cap the amount that you can, take credit for. It's not like the kids will get zeros. They still keep their score, but the school can only have that 1%
School
cap.
gets
1%. Okay, the school
Yeah.
okay.
If you
That's-
exceed 1%
Yeah.
of those students with an alternate assessment scoring at the proficient level.
1% of the total population?
The population at that grade.
At that grade? Okay, that's what I wanted to find out.
But we haven't
That
reached that
test
cap,
level.
right, Ms. Voce?
No,
We've
we
never
haven't.
reached that
No.
cap, so adding a few additional students to that, we don't think we will, but, we don't know until they actually take the test.
Okay.
So-
And then another question, you mentioned that you had to do reevaluations on 130 students just to determine if there were at those mean levels?
Right. The bulletin allowed us to do what we call waivers, and so students may not have been assessed or actually evaluated in the last 9 years, say. So what we did was we needed current data to actually make sure that the students were going to qualify for Law 1. So with that, we did a pre-waiver checklist, and we took a look at the kids, how they were scoring on the test individually. Each pupil appraisal staff went to each school and went through every student that we felt was at risk or the possibility that they would qualify. And we looked at their test scores, we looked at their grades, we talked with the teachers and talked with the principal to see if they were a possible candidate for evaluation. If we felt on that pre-waiver checklist that they were a candidate, then we did a reevaluation on them, which took a lot of manpower and a lot of hours. We are one of the only, if not the only district to do that.
Okay, well, good.
It was rough,
Making
but
sure no one
Right.
slips through, huh?
A
Yeah.
lot of districts took a very wait-and-see approach to this, and fell back on, well, we're not getting the guidance from the state, well, we weren't getting the guidance from the state that we needed. But we read the act, and we looked at the laws, and we knew we were hopefully going to get to this point. And Bessie, in December, at the December meeting, passed the expanded criteria for Law 1. But we had already positioned ourselves, knowing that this was coming, to do all these reevals so that we could get to the point that we would be able to immediately begin meeting with parents and IEP teams to then, put the students in the proper assessment pathway. So we did that. Bessie passed it in December, came back in January and did it as an emergency rule, because usually when they pass something, there's a 90-day notice of intent put out that it wouldn't have come into play until sometime in March, which would have been too late for this assessment cycle. So by getting all of that done ahead of time, when it came to pass in December and January, we had February, in fact, Friday. Yesterday. February
Yesterday was the
deadline. So we have all of that done already.
And every student that qualified.
That's why most districts didn't do that.
Right.
But we did.
Well, that
Every
was
student we
great.
could qualify, we did.
Great. That was
With parent
great
permission.
forethinking, being progressive and proactive thinking on Ms. Kurth and Ms. Voce's part. So that's great that you were able to get all those done. And, you know, every year during, when we look at our test scores and we look at the accountability scores and all, this one issue has been very, very frustrating to all of us and to our school districts. So I think Act 833 is definitely a positive for the students. And, you know, we talk about the students who are in the special education programs, how frustrated they may be putting an ACT test in front of them, or, you know, being assessed or tested on actual curriculum that they're not in that program. So at least we are moving forward, Ms. Voce, in the direction that is fair for students.
Right.
And now we just have to continue to work that to make sure that the accountability assessment for the school districts are also equal and fair. So I just want to commend you, Ms. Voce. I know you know, you're president of Superintendent's Organizations of Louisiana, and you've been at the forefront of many of those meetings, and you have been the fighter and the champion. So congratulations on being at the forefront of Act 83 and pushing this forward, and for true assessments of our students and for their benefits. And
Well, we
thank
come-
you, Ms. Kurth, also for
No
working
problem.
so closely.
My pleasure.
Well, we come from a community and a school district that has had to fight for everything that we've gotten. So everyone around this table has done the same thing, so.
Yes, we have.
We're in the mode.
Yes, and I know that how many years have we sent resolutions to the legislature on this very issues? But, you know, it's a great start, and, you know, we just look forward to it improving even more in the accountability measures.
We expect some evolving, you know, issues here, and things are going to be tweaked and changed as we get through, you know, that actual implementation, the full implementation of it. So, but we're ready, willing, and able to do that. So I also want to thank all the general education teachers, the special education teachers, the parents who have assisted with this, and the carrying out of the dream of, you know, having these students earn a high school diploma. And I have to say that, as Mr. Long said, we take a look at the gap between special education and general education kids, and we look at it very, very often, and we come up with new, improved strategies, et cetera. And so our PD really revolves around that. So, you know, Mary Lametta and Leanne Halton put together an incredible professional development that includes general ed and special ed teachers together. So we walk the walk together, which would equal, you know, every ed for everybody. So again, thank you so much today, being able to come to you today. And if you have any additional questions, either, you know, reach out to me or Ms. Voce, and we're more than happy to answer those for you. And see you on March 6th. I know you will.
Better way to go.
Thank you again, Ms. Kurth.
You're
We
welcome.
appreciate it, and thanks to all of the teachers who helped get the professional development on this very issue. Thank you.
so much.
Okay. Okay, Dr. Kraft.
Okay, I believe Mr. England on the executive committee is next.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Kraft. This is item number 8. This is enrollment number of the schools. Ms. Voce, will you take hold of
Okay,
this?
I sure will.
Thank you.
We had a request from y'all for the enrollment counts, and this is as of today. Got these numbers off through our student information system. So we currently, in our pre-K through 12 program, have 7,470 students enrolled today. The midterm graduates for the high school have been taken off of this, so these are the ones who are still there, because many of our seniors, you know, finish at midterm, so they are out of these counts. So it was more than that if we had looked at it a month ago. But Oh, probably around 30 or so, you know. So we have 7,470. You can see the enrollment at each of our schools, and what I did was just put it in our pre-K, which is our 4-year-old program, and some 3-year-olds, because students with disabilities we take at the age of 3. So that's in the pre-K numbers. Then we have the K-5 enrollment at each of the applicable schools. Then you see 6 through 8 at the middle school in Raleigh, and then 9 through 12 at the high school as well. So it's been a steady growth each year. High growth in the early years after the storm, and now the rate of growth has decreased, but we are still growing each year, as you can tell. So,
Any questions from Ms. Foche? Mr. Long?
So, what was our pre-Katrina number?
8,800 around that.
Okay, so we're getting close.
I mean, it's only about a little over 1,300.
Yeah, 13, 30.
So that's, when you look at that percentage compared to the actual population percentage that's come back, this is telling you that young families with young children are moving in. We're a younger community than we were.
And it looks like we're kind of busting at the seams at Lacoste and Davies. And
Primarily at Lacoste, right. So that's
Right.
why we're in the process of looking. We need an elementary school right there in that middle area.
Okay,
Yeah,
Thank
Ms. Dysart? That's it, Mr. Long?
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. England.
Yes.
The positive news is that we are growing, and we do have a lot of young families with young children in St. Bernard Parish, and our schools are growing. And yes, we do need another school, definitely, in the Lacoste district, and hopefully we can move forward in that direction quickly. At Chelmsford High School, Ms. Voce, of the 1710, the number, how many of those are ninth graders? Do you know?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Let's see, at Shelmet High, I'd have to quickly add, let's see.
Sorry,
No, I can do this.
the mathematician.
4, 8, 10, 502.
502.
502.
Okay, because I'm sure other board members have heard, the same comment, oh, Shelman's so big, and it's like, but it's such a big campus, and we just added 30, over 30 more classrooms, and some of the students, the 502 of them, or in a completely different campus at the ninth grade academy. So that's why I asked
about
that.
1,200 on the main campus.
So about 1,200.
Which is back in the 70s, before we had all those buildings in the main campus. When I taught there in the 70s, we had 1,750 boys just on that main building in the main campus. Right now, we've got about 1,200 students on that main campus with more than 30 additional classrooms than we had at that time.
And as we just finished discussing in special education, some of the classrooms that are necessary for special ed have a smaller number of students in it.
And we have computer labs and
so many more resources,
So many more.
and that we need additional space for. But we're not. We definitely have enough space at Shelmet High, correct?
yes,
Ms.
we do,
Fote?
absolutely.
Okay. All right, good. Well, thank you for providing these numbers. We appreciate it, and we look forward to continuing to grow and to have the space in order to grow. Thank you.
That's it, Ms. Dysart? Okay. Anyone else? Dr. Kraft?
That's quite a bit of progress from November the 14th, 2005, with 234 students. That's what you call real progress.
That's called growth.
Tremendous growth.
Tremendous growth. It's got to have an adjective for it, right? Okay, that's it.
That's it, Dr. Kraft. Okay. Any other board members? Thank you, Ms. Boche. We'll move on to item number 9, review of performance contracts. Ms. Boche?
Okay, the next 3 items, of course, are just for informational purposes for the board, because with the advent of Act 1, I'm the person that renews these particular contracts, but I wanted to make sure that you were well informed. These are the list of the 14 administrators whose performance contracts that we will be renewing for a 2-year period beginning July 1, 2015 through June 30th of 2017. So if anyone has any questions, I'll be happy, to answer them. I think that when you look at our administrative group as a whole, just as with our teachers, we're very fortunate to have a group of tremendously talented administrators who are working at their schools, and they are really responsible for what happens at that particular school, and they're doing a tremendous job. So we have a combination here of our school-based administrators and some in our central office as well.
They do a fantastic job, all our teachers and our principals and that. So, any questions? Dr.
We
Craig?
need a motion on this, don't we?
No,
No,
no, it's
sir,
just
we don't.
information
We don't
only,
need a
Dr.
motion.
This
Craig.
is what, right, this is,
Okay, it's changed.
Right.
yeah, with the advent of Act 1, then
Okay.
I'm the one who does that. What y'all do is supposedly in the
Because Act
beginning,
1,
the actual contract, which y'all approved years ago, the performance contract
Right.
itself, you approved.
Right,
And then I'm the one who does the appointments.
right, that's part of policy.
Yes.
Right,
That's
that's
part of
correct.
that new
Right,
legislative act.
yes, Ms. Dysart.
Just to reiterate, all the administrators that are listed here, we're just very, very blessed to have them as part of our system. They do an excellent job, and they definitely put forth outstanding effort, and it shows. So we appreciate all their determination and hard work. Thank you.
Very well put, Ms. Dysart. Okay, anyone else? Okay, we'll move on to item number 10, personnel changes for February 2015. This is for information only, because Act 1.
Right, information only. We have a few personnel changes, as you can see. Medical, another pregnancy, and two people who are retiring. One who is retiring at the end of this month, Cecilia Hawk from Shelman High School. Cece Hawk, who did a fantastic job. She's moving on to another job opportunity that came up pretty quickly. She's our French teacher. She will be missed, but she's going on, from what I understand, downtown to a job that is, well, I'm not going to get that into detail, but she'll use those skills as well. So it's an opportunity for her. And then, of course, Ms. Crow at Raleigh Alternative School, after many, many years of service, will be retiring at the end of this school year.
Well, they'll be missed. Right. And we wish them well. Okay, any other board members want to comment? Mr. Long?
Ms. Fauché, we mentioned Act 1 a couple of times. What is the latest on Act 1? Is it still in the courts, or is that the...
No, at this
I know it's
at
the
this
law of the land
point,
now.
At this point, it is still in force. There was a little bit of a cleanup act this past summer, where representatives from the State Department of Education, Superintendent's Association, School Board Associations, and teacher union representatives got together on some language and had that passed, but it dealt not with appointment issues or anything. It dealt more with discipline and tenure issues and those types of things. But it is still in effect that the hiring and firing is now under the purview of the superintendent, rather than the school board.
And all the court challenges are completed now? Or just about completed?
Not all
The
of
one,
them.
not all of them, but the one that came, the latest one that came down kept it in effect. Now, there's some challenges to certain parts of it, but a lot of the changes, I think it was Act 570 or something of this last session, which cleaned up some of the language in different parts of Act 1 through a collaborative effort of, as we said before, superintendents, school boards, and teachers, union representatives.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Probably, Mr. Long, they're probably at the LSBA meeting coming up at the end of the month. We'll probably get more information
Right,
at
right.
that
I
time.
talked to
will.
Mr. Hammonds before these three items were coming up, and I said, okay, Bob, let's just go over this one more time. Let's make sure what
He's
we have to
staying
do,
busy.
what we, oh, yeah. So he'll be at the association meeting, too, to answer any other specific questions that you
Right, we
have.
look forward to that.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Long. Anyone else? Okay. So we move on to item number 11. Advertise for assistant principal at Smith Elementary. Ms.
Again,
Foche.
informational that we're going to put out the advertisement. You know, Mr. Catagna, as we did at the last meeting, has moved over to take that position with the juvenile justice system teaching in that facility under us. It was just a transfer, which is an opening for the assistant principal at Smith Elementary. We're going to go through that advertisement, and depending upon who is chosen, we're certainly not going to have a domino effect or disrupt any classes that are taking place from now to the end of the year. But we will interview, make that appointment to be effective at the end of the year. So whoever is chosen will be with that administrative team and the planning that goes on over the summertime and such. So wanted to make sure we got this one taken care of as quickly as possible. And then any opening which would occur as a result of that person being appointed, of course, we would wait before we do anything until the
Sure.
end of the school year.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Foche on this, on item number 11? Nope. Being none, we'll move on to item number 12. Ms. Foche?
The only thing I wanted to bring to your attention, I was approached today by a representative from Parish government and a representative from the Chamber. And last year was the first time they did this official St. Bernard Parish Day at the legislature. And it's really in the early afternoon and early evening. And last year we had a conflict, and as a school system, we didn't really participate. Parish government did, the chamber did, and it was a really, really nice event. It was after the session would end for the day, the legislators would come over, and there was, you know, food and drink and much discussion, and I think it went extremely well. Well, I got a call today saying that for this year, when they called to set the time, that there was only one date available. It has to be on a Tuesday or Wednesday afternoon or evening. And the only date available was Tuesday, April 28th. So I said, well, wait a minute, that's the day of our school board meeting. And I asked them to please look for an alternate date, because we would very much like to participate in this, because I think this is something that as a community altogether, it's a really good event. They are in the process of doing that, but they don't think that it will happen. But they're going to make the calls tomorrow and see if they can change this potential date. They asked if we could change our board meeting night for that time. So I'm just giving you a little bit heads up. They're going to try to get an alternate date from April 28th, and if that does not happen, then we can have some discussion at our next meeting to consider whether or not we will be able to participate and if we can or cannot change that April meeting date. So I just wanted to give you the information now and then come back next week with the outcome.
Well, Ms. Foche, if you get the information, can you put it on the agenda?
Yes.
So we get the, because we need approval to change the meeting date.
Absolutely,
Right.
right. Yes, Mr. England, I will.
On this, will we cover this next week?
Oh, on the Lacoste?
Because
And again, just for informational purposes, I passed out to the school system. Mr. Milton Boackle came to see me yesterday, as well as a few weeks back. There's a group of teachers, former teachers, administrators, support personnel, who used to teach at the old Lacoste Elementary School, and they keep in close contact with each other. And they came up with a proposal. They want to raise some funds and to donate resources to the new library at Lacoste, and then come and make a presentation, have like a little event for them so they can all come together, view the facility, donate the books and the materials and a little plaque to go along with it. And I told them I was certain that y'all would be in favor of that, and that keep us abreast of how that is coming, and then we can come together with a date that would be great for everyone. So it'd be great to see some of our retired people coming back from all over the area
Some of them
to
are still
celebrate.
teaching, you know.
Some are still teaching in other areas as they've
Yeah.
moved away, but most
Yeah.
of them,
Are
the core
retired.
group of this are
Right.
these group of retired
I was
individuals who really,
reading
while
on-
Milton Boackle is a driving force
Yeah.
behind this as well.
Reading, but that some of the teachers want to add the former students also,
Oh, really?
that way, and some of the students had responded to that, so.
Well, the more the merrier.
More the merrier, the more donations they
Again,
can
just
get.
like this morning at Chalmette Elementary with that initiative, as our people continue their ties to
Just get a
to
bigger
their
umbrella.
schools and school systems, we're most appreciative of anything they can do to increase the resources for our
Oh,
children.
absolutely.
Okay. And that's it, Dr. Kraft.
That's it. Okay, a motion to adjourn there, Mr. Campbell. Move second by Ms. Acevedo. All in favor of adjourning indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, we stand adjourned. Have a great night.